Okay. Do you want to give it a second?
Just setting up. Oh, okay. It's now streaming live. Let me just check YouTube and I'll tell our group. Wait. Yeah, we're good. We're on, I think.
Yeah. Good faces? God, I don't want to know. Forget it. Hello, everybody. Karen here. It's been a minute. Especially for live stream. We haven't been on for a long time. But here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. It's been a while. So we just wanted to come on for a impromptu live, talk about several topics. I don't know if we'll get to all of them, but we're gonna try our best to get through to most of them. So the topics that we'd like to talk about are how to recognize when you're under spiritual attack, rubber fruit. That's just like our little quick break. And then we have spiritual warfare, hive mind, and interconnectedness, shedding and radiation, shedding and radiation poisoning as an opening, and alien stuff. That's fun.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know. I wrote it all down, but like I said, I don't know if we're gonna get through all of it. We'll just kind of see how it rolls, and then that's it. So, hello, Tina. It's been a while.
Hello.
I've seen you.
Yeah.
I saw you this morning.
It's weird being on live, isn't it? I'm a little nervous.
I'm not. I'm okay.
So, so topic number one,
Yep.
how to recognize when you're under spiritual attack. Well, I think the best way to learn is through stories. So I'm going to tell you a story. And that way you can see kind of how things unfold and maybe be able to recognize when it's happening to you. Because so many times we just kind of blow these things off either as a coincidence or like you suddenly just come down with some kind of flu or cold or COVID or whatever it is, when really it's at the heart of it, it's a spiritual attack that causes physical symptoms. I think we have that belief, that disconnect between if it's spiritual, then it's not affecting the physical, but it's all interconnected and interweaved. And it kind of took a long time for me to really anchor that in too about what, because about, when it's happening to you, you're kind of in that space where you don't know what the hell's going on, until you become proficient at knowing your energy and when something's trying to enter your field that is an invader, right? So,
Yeah, I agree with that. There's multi layers to it.
yeah, multi layers. So, this attack I'm going to talk about happened when I went to visit Karen in Canada. We met up with a friend. We went for this really nice walk by the river. There's like a trail that goes through the river. You can see like where the dam comes in and the waterfalls. And it's a really nice walk, but it was a hot day and we walked for a really long time. So we were like all exhausted. Um, and we get to this place. So we had walked probably a couple miles by then. And we walk up to this kind of fork in the road. And the person we were with put in the GPS where she wanted to take us because she was like our tour guide. So she wanted to take us to this restaurant that she goes to and, sit by the water. It was really nice. And we get to this space and then all of a sudden she's like confused and doesn't know how to find the restaurant. So we put it into the GPS and the GPS is going like haywire, right? Like the compass is spinning. we turn one way and it's pointing the other way, and we just can't figure out which way to go. And so Karen's like, I don't know, this doesn't feel good. It feels like we're in a portal. And I'm like, yeah, it does. And then as soon as she said that, I look up and I see this monument type piece of art sitting right in front of us. And it's a door. It's a concrete, or it's made out of some kind of stone. And it's a door, large stone door. And on the door is an eye. And the eye looks reptilian. And there's an eye on the front, an eye on the back. And in front of it, there's like a mound. And it's kind of very vague. There's a stone mound in front of it. And there's like something laying on the mound. And then what it looks like to me is a reptilian arm coming up from the ground and over the mound. So you can kind of see the hand coming over the mound. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, there it is. There's the portal. There's
Mhm.
obviously something going on here. And in this space on the surface, people are all hanging out in the fields, they're barbecuing and picnicking, and there's a lot of people here around the space. But it just felt really ominous. And
That's a good
so,
word.
yeah. So we were like, no, we're not going to go to this restaurant. First of all, we don't even know which way we're going because the compass is off. And second of all, um, it just feels wrong. Just something feels wrong about this place. So, and it's in Montreal, and Montreal has very dark energy. I mean, it's where MK Ultra was started at McGill University, and a lot of experimentation and things going on. So what it felt like to me was like this monument was a representation of something that was going on underground, with the obvious reptilian arm coming up and over this mound, which is representing like an altar for sacrifice. And when you look at the eye on the stone door, they're both looking in the same direction. And I think it was the direction we were supposed to go. So we were like, okay, we're turning around. We're going to go somewhere else to eat. And so we start walking back. And the whole time we're walking back down the trail that we came from, I felt as if something was riding my back. And so we're walking and we're walking and we're walking. And at this point, like I'm exhausted. My feet are killing me. And I'm vulnerable, right? Because I'm physically vulnerable. And I feel this energy riding me. So anyway, we get in the car, we leave, we go to eat, we go home that night. I kind of just like forgot about that, and just energetically as it was happening, I was pushing it back. And then just kind of forgot about it until that night when we got home, got in bed, and all of a sudden my body was just like racked with pain. I was having like stabbing pains in my liver, all over my body. It was just really painful. There was a buzzing in my nervous system to where like it just wouldn't settle. And those are all symptoms that something is trying to access your field or already has. When something comes on suddenly like that, it's not usually a physical ailment, although it feels very physical. It's something energetic that's trying to access you or already has. So, and this is something I've come to learn over time with my sensitivity and how my body is reacting to energy. And when you have really good energy management, you very rarely ever get sick because you're able to catch it right away instead of allowing it to continue. Now, so Karen was with me and we both started to tune in separately to what was going on. And what I saw was a big reptilian who had actually, what came forward first was a little boy. He was 13, an earthbound soul. And an earthbound soul is a human soul that has died and is now stuck here. And he was explaining to me that, hold on, my battery's low. I got to plug it in. He was explaining to me that this reptilian being had trapped him and other children in this underground space. So he was showing me these tunnels and all this nefarious activity that was going on down there with experimentation and child sacrifice and just really, really awful things. So he had died in a sacrifice and then was trapped by this reptilian.
Mm-hmm.
So when we approached this monument in this weakened state, this reptilian was basically like running me out of there and followed us home. And then took this child and others because I didn't pick up on the others at first. I asked him if there were others, and he said yes. And there was about a dozen earthbound children that this reptilian forced into the area of my liver. So there was the 13-year-old who was the oldest, who was speaking on behalf of all of them and showing me and telling me what had happened to them. And then there was the reptilian that kind of had them leashed and in cages. So they were all in cages to like in one cage together and just kind of like shoved into my field. And that was what was creating the pain in my body and bringing that to my attention. So it took a while with both Karen and I working to first clear the reptilian, then to heal these children who had died through ritual sacrifice in this underground space, and then to eventually cross them over.
Mm-hmm.
And the wild part about all this, is crazy as that sounds, like if anyone that's just normal were to hear me say that, they would probably think I was insane. But what makes it so real is that after the healing and clearing, the symptoms completely disappear. And the body goes back into a normal, healthy state of being. And that to me is proof that what we see, what we feel is very real. And that was a very real spiritual attack. And I think it's important for people to know the signs and symptoms of what to look for, because if I didn't have this awareness, I would have just thought I was sick. You know, I had the flu, or
we walk too much, or dehydrated or whatever.
yeah, any of those excuses that you would give for the pain and the exhaustion and the body aching and the nervous system being wired. And part of the vulnerability for the spiritual attack is also being, so this is where like the shedding and radiation comes in too, is being exposed to the public, to the shedding out in public and the radiation, which weakens the energetic field and then allows an easier access for whatever entities are trying to access you. So that's a whole part of it too. So after we cleared them and crossed them over, my body slowly came back to, well, it's like an instant release. And then there's like kind of like a little bit of residual energy that has to work itself out. And then you just feel exhausted because of all that. Like that's like a big load to carry. But yeah, what did you see that night? What were you seeing?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No, because I don't remember. My it's terrible.
Mhm.
We've done so many sessions since, so I don't, it's kind of intermesh, so I can't really tell you like the details of what I saw that night, but I know that we saw things that were pretty similar.
Mhm. Yeah, because we were doing it separately. But yeah, you were picking up on the same things that I was picking up on
Yeah.
and validating and confirming for each other, what we were seeing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, have you guys ever experienced anything like that? Like, oh, hi, Lisa. Hi, Eternal and Trash Man. Nice to see you guys. Yeah, so often, like, we think that when we have physical symptoms, there must be a physical reason behind it. And what we're seeing more and more in our work is that most of our illnesses are due to suppressed energy and or entity attachment. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think people understand the uh like how much energy influences people, how easily it is.
Mhm.
Because like you said, had we not had any awareness about it, we would have just said like, yeah, we fucking walked away too much today in the heat. Like, I'm sure that was a contributing factor, of course, but that's what created the weakening. And then being surrounded by like people and whatnot. So yeah, I find
Yeah.
it's like really important to understand how easily we could be influenced, especially for those who are highly sensitive, or don't have the tools to recognize like what's happening in their body if they're not at all aware of how their body's responding, how your, if you have any inner child parts that are separate or that are reacting or getting triggered on a very unconscious way. um yeah, that you have earthbounds that just somehow get attracted to your energy field and just kind of be like, all right, I'm going with her, and then they go
Yeah.
in, and and then you take on this like extra personality that you're weren't aware of, or your personality amps up because of that extra like personality trait or whatever. um it comes up in so many ways. Like, we don't realize how easily possessed we can get. Like, that's only like an extreme word, and I think that's another thing that we take very lightly, or we only put possession with like extreme cases, but we can get possessed in multitude of ways. And knowing yourself so well to know when it's happening or to know when things change. Like, for me, I had to like build up my own self-awareness in order for me to really recognize when I'm being affected by, let's say, an inner child part, because I know that my demeanor changes. That's one thing.
Mhm.
And then it's just like asking the right questions, or it's good to, like, of course we want to take accountability. Well, some of us do, and not just blame on what's going on outside, but it's good to introspect and ask the self, like, okay, is this actually mine, or did I pick up something? Like, what did I do today? Did I eat something funny? Like, because I mean, it's in everything. It's in the environment that we're in. It's the things that we eat, consume. It's the people that we're around. It's what we watch as well, like that kind of
Mm.
consumption.
Mhm.
It's in everything. So it's just good to know like how our environments can be manipulated, especially in the world that we're in now, and how easily it is by the controllers to manipulate the hive mind. I know that was
Mm.
part of like the topics, but and I'm going on a tangent, but um I feel it's all interrelated anyway, how we can easily be manipulated and how important it is to ask the right questions. And if you really don't, I mean, it's important, like, it's good for you to ask us, like, if you want to email us or just like to ask us questions, or to suggest topics, because I mean, like, we have so much to talk about, and we don't really have a schedule for these like videos to come on because of, you know, but we have so much to talk about. We have so much to like express, because like when we work with people in long term, which is nice, this is just another off topic thing,
Mhm.
we get to see people and their behaviors and their patterns and their programming, and then be able to sift through that. And I think that's like really important for people to be able to do that with themselves if they're not going to work with us, for example. It's just like you have to be able to sift through your programming and to really be prepared to look at yourself and how easily influenced you can be, or how your body is responding to certain things, and then taking the appropriate action. But I don't even know if people even know what the appropriate action is, because like we don't, that's also another portion that we're not educated on. We're just functioning on what we think is best, when what we think is best is outdated and not good anymore. So,
Mm.
you know, I don't know. Sorry, that was really confusing.
No, it wasn't. It was really good. And I just want to back up for a minute to what you said about consumption and environment, because it is so important that the people that we surround ourselves with, everything that we do has influence on us, whether we want to admit that or not. And what came to mind when you were talking about that was just yesterday in a session, because we did a session for a cat um, who is having issues. And what we saw in that session was that the cat started having issues when this one specific person entered the home and brought this dark negative energy with her into the home, right? But then, so we were exploring that. And then you were like, I don't know why, but I'm seeing like strawberries with an entity sitting on top of it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So it was basically the message was like everything you bring into your field, your environment, you have to clear it because it can come with an attachment.
Right, I forgot about that. Exactly. Like everything, literally everything you bring into your space.
Mhm.
It's
So,
just
like,
calling for hyper awareness. That's all.
yeah, awareness. And I mean, even if you go on vacation, you take all of your stuff, your luggage, your everything with you. And who knows what you're carrying back into your home when you come back. So you have to clear all of that stuff too. Your clothes, your luggage, your belongings, making sure that you didn't pick up any hitchhikers yourself. Because
Yeah.
traveling in itself is a big vulnerability.
Yeah. We should probably talk about our ride home.
Oh my God.
That's another video where we got abducted.
Um,
Stay tuned for that.
yeah. So the main thing is right to know yourself and to know your parts, your inner children, how they're responding, to know what your patterns are, what your programs are, what your beliefs are, what your energy even feels like as a sovereign being, to know when something is entering your field. And most of us don't know anything about that until we start to deconstruct all of the programs that we've built up over the lifetime, until we get to that point where we're like, okay, we're ready to do the inner work now. I want to know myself. I want to know how I got here. I want to know how I became this person, this personality. And then you start to deconstruct that and know and understand yourself and your energy without all the attachments. When you begin to clear the attachments, when you begin to address the inner children and know your energy as sovereign, then you'll have a better understanding of when something foreign is trying to access your field. And
Yeah.
you'll know the right questions to ask. Like you said, is this mine or is this not? And instantly, like I knew that night with the reptilian that I was under attack.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we just had someone in group 2 who was talking about something similar where she was taken out for like 3 days. Really, really sick. Really, really sick. And I think this is happening more and more. And any little tiny vulnerability, they will take advantage of. They're just looking for any kind of opening whatsoever. And those openings can come through not even so much yourself, but your partner or your cat or your dog or your children or the people that you surround yourself with. They will target you through them if they can't get to you specifically. So that's a good awareness to have too, and to know when that's happening and to not feed energy into that. Yeah. I'm just going to take a look at the comments. Trashman says, I felt the same thing going to New York City for the first time. I felt a lot of similar things going through the streets at night. Yeah, I bet. I had panic attack, unfortunately, and I felt the sensation Tina felt. Yeah, it's exactly that. A lot of times these attacks will come in as anxiety and panic. Your nervous system will just feel like it's so frazzled because it's your nervous system is designed to pick up on predator energy and to have that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. So your nervous system goes into this response because it's picking up on the predator.
Mm.
So that's a really good awareness to have when you feel a panic or anxiety to coming on. The first question you should ask yourself is this mine? Or am I under attack? Or what is this energy trying to access my field? Why am I feeling this way? What am I picking up on? What am I sensing? Because your nervous system is like the interface between your spirit and physical reality. Yeah. So it's always sensing and sending you messages.
Hey, Lana. Hello, Josh. I don't think I said hi to Lisa, but I sent a heart, but I don't know how this thing works.
Oh,
I saw a
Side Duck.
heart come up and that was
Side
me
Duck
saying
is here
hi.
too.
Hi, Side Duck. Eternal.
Yeah, I don't know much about German new medicine. Helps connect the psychosomatic nature of the physical illness way beyond Louise Hay, but I'm a newbie to this. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing in body scan sessions too, is saying what is the root of this sensation that's arising within the body. And usually it's connected to a dissociated part or even sometimes past life stuff comes up, like where that trauma is really rooted in and continues into this life. But yeah, we suppress so much over our lifetime and then start to develop all of these, autoimmune issues and, everything I've seen. Because throughout my own journey with illness, like I was diagnosed with Lyme disease, I was diagnosed with lupus, fibromyalgia. I don't even remember them all now. Chronic, I don't even remember them all now because I stopped identifying with them. So I kind of like erased the labels of those illnesses and just took the symptoms, the grouping of symptoms for what they were, which was basically a message that your body is suppressing something and storing this as trauma in the body. When you begin to release and deal with the suppressed emotions and trauma, your physical illnesses will fade. Just like we posted the testimonial from Boro from Switzerland on our community page, and how he talks about he came to us with all kinds of physical ailments. His body was just in a panic anxiety state all the time. And by the end of his empowerment process, his body was calm. He had none of that anxiety anymore or physical symptoms or fear over his health. It all went because he did the work to clear it. So that shows you how there's no disconnection between our mind and the body. It's 100% connected. You can't have them separately. So in our system, our mainstream traditional medicine, we separate everything, you know. You go to the psychologist for your mind, you go to your family doctor for the body, and you go to all these other specialists too for each system in the body. Nobody looks at the whole picture. And that's what we do in our empowerment process is we look at the whole being and physical, mental, emotional, mental, and spiritual. The spiritual and energetic aspect is just as important, if not the most important, I
Mhm.
would say. Yeah.
I agree. I feel like there's a lot of like, like we don't encourage like the one session. Like the one session's not going to get anything done. It's all like, we go what's next at the superficial level. And then we go next layer, next layer, next layer. So it's like if you're going to different people, then you're just going to hit that superficial layer and you're not going to go deeper than that. Like you need consistency, you need someone who really understands your like past or who'd be able to trace back like like is that an entity, like be able to discern the energies that are coming through, be able to be so aware of like I think we pick up on like people's like demeanors, like the energy shifts that happen when they're getting triggered. Like we're able to pick up on it and then be able to question. um what's important is like you just have to be open enough and willing to see it,
Mm.
to see yourself, to be able to look at the dark things and the shadows and then be able to let go of a lot of what we are not, like the kind of like the programming that is put onto us here, and
Mhm.
then like release that. Because a lot of sometimes I find like a lot of like the things that are hard to let go of is, your identity around things. The identity is really like the biggest thing because it's like, well, who am I then without it? And then being able to ask that question of like, will I be okay without an identity or that thing that made me feel good about myself or that made me feel like I'm somebody. So it's just, yeah, go ahead.
Or the thing that makes you feel sick.
Mm,
You
that
can
too.
create an identity around what's making you sick.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot with some people, like creating an identity around their sickness and therefore like using that as their, I guess it is an excuse and it's also a secondary gain of like, okay, yeah,
Right.
there's some
If
people who
I'm
just don't know who they are without that sickness.
right. And that's a big thing to deal with when you have a chronic state of dis-ease in the body because you do build your identity around it. I built my identity around it when I was chronically ill. And that was one of the things that I had to give up and ask myself, who am I without this?
Yeah,
Who am I without this illness? Right. And it does, you do get a secondary gain from it because there are things you don't have to do. You don't have to participate in society. You don't have to work. You don't have to go to school. Whatever it is for you that you're not having to do because it's too overwhelming for you, your sickness gives you an excuse not to do that thing. And there's a lot of secondary gain when it comes to that. So that's why, like, even with entity attachments, there are people that come to us and they're hearing voices. They know it's an entity
they're getting
and
assaulted by it.
they're getting assaulted by it. It's a reptilian attack and they're going to steal my soul any day, like that kind of thing. But they don't want to get rid of it because it's giving them an excuse not to participate in life.
Yeah,
And that's what we call a secondary gain. And we all have to ask ourselves those questions. Like, do I really want to heal this? What am I getting out of it? Like, what am I gaining from it in keeping it and not letting it go?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the identities, we might have many different identities, and um but we have to learn how to root our identity in our awareness, in not having an identity and not needing to have an identity, and to kind of start letting those chips fall
Yeah.
and
Being okay with that.
being okay with that. Yeah,
Yeah. Because a lot of people's worth are rooted in their identity.
right. Yeah, worth is such a big issue when it comes to identity, and because the scripted life, when you're living the scripted life, like the script you were given, you're basically building your worth and your value based on what you can do for others, what you can do for yourself, how successful you are, what college you've went to, what career you're in, and your worth is then based on what you're doing instead of who you are and your beingness.
Yeah. So then you like those things become masks, and then you're like you're not living authentically because you're chasing the validation for your doing.
And it's the not living authentically that makes you sick.
Yeah.
It's the suppression of who you really are that is making you sick deep down. And the depression is really the body going into this deep state of rest because you're not aligned with the trueness of who you are. So it just shuts down. It's just like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready for our fake fruit?
Fake fruit.
rubber rubber vegetables. I don't know.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, take it away.
take it away. Tina showed me a TikTok um a while ago about these like rubber avocados, rubber bananas, rubber blueberries.
Watermelon.
But yeah, exploding watermelon. I don't know what. Um, I'm sure there are others. Please write down in the comments if you've experienced that. But I mean, I had when she shared it, I was like, oh my God. I was like, you know how many of those fucking rubber avocados I've eaten, or how many of those I had to beat up just to make some fucking guacamole? Like
Yeah.
you cut them out and they look beautiful, ready and ripe, and then you're trying to mash it and it's just like that in the bowl, like up against your fork. And I'm like, come on, man. So I mean, I thought like, okay, you could cut them, but I'm like, how many of these have I fucking eaten? And today I was eating like my dinner and I had some avocado, and then yeah, it was like perfect. It had the right amount of squish, and then I cut it open and it just looked like one of those fake ass things. And I took it out and I squeezed it and it wasn't moving. It wasn't because you could even get just a little bit in your fingers. I wasn't really getting that. Like maybe just a little from the skin, but so disappointing. The next one that I got in the batch of the sack that I got, perfect. Same look, same squish. I opened it up, cut it like butter, came out like butter, got all like avocado-y on my fingers, like it was, and I was able to squish it with my fingers. And I'm like, what the fuck? I go, you spend like how much money on avocados? They're super expensive, but you don't know what you're gonna get in the basket. So
Yeah.
it's just again being aware of like what they want us to consume, because how many of you have eaten these fucking rubber things? I'm a victim.
I'm a victim too.
How many times,
Right.
you know, that I just took it like, okay, well, it's one of those funny ones. Like it's not ripe yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah, but if you do a search for it, like there's a lot of people posting videos about the rubber fruit they're finding, and it will be like with the blueberries, there'll be rubber blueberries mixed in with regular blueberries.
Well, like the avocados in the
Yeah.
thing in the
Yeah. Yeah.
sack. It's the
Yeah.
same. It's a roulette.
Yeah. This one lady opened a watermelon, cut open a watermelon and sliced it for her kids, and they brought it back because they were like, we can't eat this. It was like, it was rubber. You couldn't even bend it to break it.
Yeah, that's fucking weird for watermelon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like the polymerization of everything,
Yeah.
including food and produce.
Yeah, I know. I juiced watermelon the other day and I made popsicles out of them. And my daughter couldn't, she doesn't like it. She's like, the water tastes funny. I go, I didn't add water. She's like, well, it's probably the water that the fruit absorbed as it was growing in the soil. It's all dirty. So I
Yeah,
was like really
everything's
disappointed. I was
contaminated.
like, I didn't even think of that. I'm so upset. So now I gotta boil my watermelon juice and filter it and then make watermelon popsicles. Like it's so stupid. Well, that's like when Tina was here and we made popsicles. That was sad.
That was really sad.
Yeah, she took like mangoes, banana, right? Some
Mango, strawberry, and watermelon.
okay, no banana. But anywho, made like a mixture and then put it in to freeze. And then when we were eating it, there were like these fibers, hairs or something that didn't look like the fibers that came from off a mango because they could be fibrous or they are fibrous. And it didn't, they were like silver.
And they were thick. They were thick, silver, like wires. It was wiry. And I think they were growing in the mango. I think they were mango fibers that were taken over by technology
Right.
because I posted an article in group about, I forget what it was about the transhuman agenda. And one of the videos in that was, it shows you how they talk about all of this openly. And it's just wild to me. But they're talking about how they were polymerizing the roses. So they would just take a rose, put it in this solution, allow the rose to suck up the water with the nanobots in it. And so it sucks up the water and it makes these fake vessels within the rose stem, just like it's doing to our body, making those fake vessels. They're doing it to everything. So all the stuff
Right.
that's falling from the sky is being absorbed by the produce, by the trees, by everything, and creating that fake circuitry inside of it. And I think that's what we were seeing there with those mangoes. That was really disturbing and
Oh,
um,
really disturbing.
very disheartening. You know, you think you're doing something good because you're making fruit popsicles for the kids, and then to find like silver wires in your fruit popsicles. Like, what do you do at that point?
Pills and wine. Oh,
What
good.
do you do? Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
wild.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I just because like you were saying that the wires are like probably from the mangoes that were taken over by the AI. I'm like, yeah, I can only imagine like what my insides look like because of how it's coming out of my skin right now, you know? I was
Mm.
like really itching myself. I'm just showing people how I'm affected by these nano things. It's really bad.
Mhm.
But I can only imagine like what my insides look like and what's like being squeezed by mango wires.
Like wires, yeah. No, it's a real problem. It's a real problem, and everybody needs to be aware that it's happening. And yeah, it's this AI is like it's assimilating everything.
Yeah.
So this is why it's so important right now to know yourself, because the influence not only of entities, reptilians, whatever, predators, but the influence that can come from inside of your body, from the nano and the technology. How is that influencing you? If you're not super aware of the possibility of that influence, then you can easily be manipulated and just kind of pulled into that hive mind, because we're seeing that more and more. I just posted that article in community earlier today that there's this really weird thing happening where people are just dumping dogs at this like park in Detroit, either already dead or alive with bags on their heads, just like crazy stuff. And like this, he was writing about how he saw somebody that was walking towards a dumpster, and they're being found in dumpsters, like animals are being found in dumpsters all over the place. There's like tons and tons of articles about it. And this guy was walking over to the dumpster with a live bird in his hand,
Yeah, it was
going
already
to
dead.
throw it out because it couldn't fly. And I'm just
It's
like,
crazy.
it's crazy. It's crazy. So there's this guy that lives in Detroit. He goes and checks the park every day for dogs that have been dumped. And he's rescued 40 dogs so far, but some of them are already gone, you know? So what is it that's causing people to do this? Because when you look back on the history, this wasn't happening in 2020, 2021. It just started in 2023 and 2024 is like really spiking. So what's happening to cause this to people to do these kinds of things?
Yeah. We talked about the hive mind before and how the the shot is affecting those that have it, but also affecting those that don't, which is why the tech's growing in everybody now. And so using the AI, the nanotech that's inside and creating like the network inside everybody, then, with like the ELF and that whatever's going on everywhere, they're probably able to release some kind of frequency or message and to kind of test the computer, the World Wide Web, on how they're going to respond to these, let's say this, like some
Mhm.
rando thing, but obvious that you could find them on Google, like people are reporting them because they're a little extreme, but it's not human. So it's not a pandemic thing, but it's like something with the animals. So it's like, I think, low key enough to be reported, but not low key enough for people to really care as much.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Well, when you said not human, that really stood out to me because I feel like you have to be so disconnected from yourself
1,000,000%.
to do
Like
something
that
like that. It's
person.
not human. It's not human. I really feel like I was saying earlier, I feel like number one, we knew in 2020 that the objective of the shots was to eject the soul from the body. And I think now, and then to influence that physical form, which is already programmed with its identity, right? The soul doesn't need to be there at that point. It's already programmed. And it's an open vessel for other entities to step in, non human entities, to then use that body to wreak havoc in this realm. And I think this is the start of what we're seeing here. These are non human acts,
Mhm. Inhumane.
inhumane, exactly.
Yeah.
Inhumane. And yeah, so then you have whatever entities residing in this vessel, and then add the chemtrails and the frequency weapons on top of that, and you have people dumping dogs in the park. Like, what? And I also think it's a multi-level kind of agenda and experiment for them. Like we're just lab rats to them. And I think one of the things too is they don't remember they were talking a while ago about nobody having pets anymore. That they were going to kill all the pets. And I think this is part of that, influencing people to do it themselves and then ushering in robot pets.
That's weird, man. Robo pet.
Robo pets, they want robo trees, robo everything. Yeah.
Robo avocados.
Robo avocados. Yeah.
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 Oh my God, what are we gonna eat? I'm already dying. Like,
So
yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I think that yeah, we have to be super aware. And then like you see what just popped into my mind was like a video from Philly where people are literally walking around like zombies. They're just
Gone.
gone,
Gone.
gone, gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's happening a lot. More so like the daydreaming. But I think that's the trance state that I was talking about. Where they put you in some kind of trance state so that you're not waking up to what's going on.
Mm.
On.
Right. And the trance state can be created by the ELF, the extremely low frequencies, and the nanotech it acts as a portal to allow through whatever it wants to come through on a spiritual, paranormal level, whatever you want to call it, to enter into the body that way in people that are still spirited to try to take over from the inside out. So everyone needs to be aware of that too. And this is why like having the awareness and knowing yourself is so important right now, because the assault and the warfare is on so many different levels.
Yeah.
So many different levels. And I've been noticing this. I would love to think this is organic, but it doesn't feel organic to me. I've been
What?
noticing like this like increase in synchronicity.
Uh, I think that sounds like it's another AI thing. Like there's normal synchronicities, but then there's that replay. Like it's fake replay. And I'm suspicious because your deja vus are longer
Mm,
and they're drawn out longer.
yeah.
So that's weird. I think that's weird.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of deja vu recently. Just in the past month, I've noted this increase in deja vu, increase in dreaming that relates back to other people. Like, for example, clients that are coming in to our field. And just like this increased interconnectedness, like an overlapping of realities.
Everybody is overlapping in our reality more so than before. So it's almost like it's growing.
Mm-hmm. Right. And when I see that, I see like the mesh network that they're creating between people, right? Which then would pull in other people's energy into your space and create these kind of synchronicities. Because what is reality? Reality is a projection of your internal state for the most part, and you can interpret it like a dream. But if you're having other people's stuff like showing up in your reality, that tells me that there's an unnatural interconnectedness. Like it doesn't feel natural. And I think it's moving more towards the hive mind than natural oneness or interconnectedness. It feels more like hive mind and controlled. Don't you think?
Yeah, it doesn't feel organic at all. I feel like there's an organic base to it, but then it's the AI is growing on top of the organic thing
Hmm.
and it's making it super like whatever. And then of course, like, if we have like the people who are like all into synchronicities, then they're gonna be like, oh
Mm.
my God, and then forget they're gone. Like there's no like not discerning through that, or at least feeling through that, being like, okay, that's suspicious.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Lana, I wasn't kidding. I think like the sores that I have on my skin, um, kind of like what I shared already in group, like when I had like that issue with my finger and it started to open up, and I think we shared some stuff in group about that, like the things that I was pulling out of my skin, like Morgellons.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it is like Morgellon stuff, like coming out, thick black wires or the white ones. Again, you could turn off the reality of it by telling yourself that it is dust. Like that, I'm just saying, like that's just what an easy thing to do. Like it's dust. My house is dirty, but it's not. I wash my sheets. Like I've been washing my sheets almost every day. I rotate them almost every day, washing my sheets and vacuuming and cleaning and whatever. I haven't left my place, but I do have like this black ointment that I put on some of the sores that are closed so I could draw the shit out of it. And in the morning, one of them particularly, it was kind of crusted around, and then you when you look inside of it, you could see all these thick webbings of wires or nests of wires under or in it, and they were like when I pulled it out, they were coming from the wound itself, like the opening, and there was fresh skin under it, and it stopped itching.
The
So
itching, right? The itching is being caused by the wires coming through and irritating the nerves as they're coming out. That's why it itches.
yeah, it itches so much. Like this one is really flaring right now, and it's actually weeping as I'm. It's gross, sorry. But I'm sure tomorrow there's gonna be like this awesome thing. I'll share it in group. I'll take a picture tomorrow morning and share it. Be grossed out by my arm.
Right. And this kind of growth is happening to everyone, vax or not. The growth is happening in everyone. And that's why they're finding like the big rubbery clots inside of people because it's creating this artificial webbing within the body.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
it really is a multi-dimensional attack on everyone, on everything, on
yeah,
everyone and everything on this planet is under
yeah.
attack.
I think I think I approached my body as the last line from all the healing that I've done thus far, because it was never a weakness of mine until it became weak. So I'm glad in a way that I was able to work through the things beforehand, which have led me to be strong enough to deal with this now. But of course, there's that part that's just like, oh my God, like what, like, how did you make it get this far? But it's a long and a slow death process. Like it's slow.
What do you mean by death process?
Like it's killing me. It was
Mm.
killing me. Like it could have eventually just killed me.
Hmm.
So it's a slow death. Like until I the symptoms that were coming arising were, apart from like the things that were obviously coming out of my skin, um but like the stabbing pains in my liver, the breast pain, just like different things were happening.
Mm.
Constipation, I feel, was one of them, because it
Mm.
was as if my body was just slowing down or getting strangled slowly.
Right. And the tech tends to build up in the gut.
Yeah, now like since I've been like detoxing really hard, like things have been flushing out really easily, thankfully. but I'm just want all the parasites out. Like I think I choked the other night and think that there was something in my throat that made me choke. And I remember like I was so tired and I was in a deep detox like symptoms and I was like flu-like and I was like, ugh, and I put my hand in my mouth and I felt stuff in there. And I'm like, ugh, and I took a Kleenex and I just kind of like, whatever. And it was probably parasites that I was choking on. I don't, anyway, like whatever at this point.
Well, the thing about this tech is there's a fungal component to it. And what does fungus do? It breaks living tissue down.
Right. Yeah. So we stopped eating mushrooms a long time, like a while ago, and just not incorporating any of that
Right. And you think
stuff.
about like all the fungus, in the news and in the movies and in the shows, it's all about fungus because this tech this tech is related to fungus, like they go hand in hand. And that's
Yeah.
what's creating the deterioration of everyone's body.
Right. And so you have to also question what is the latest fad now that they're increasing in microdosing
Mm,
and, people going into those things just so that they could be focused and aware and
yeah,
whatever it
getting
is that it brings to them.
more fungus in the body. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why are they pushing mushrooms so hard everywhere? Not just psychedelic mushrooms, but healing mushrooms. You
Whatever they
see,
put next to it. Yeah.
right.
Here's some healing crack.
Yeah. So why did we stop eating mushrooms at all? Because number one, they grow in the dark by the light of the moon. They don't grow in the sunlight, and they're alien to this planet, and they're connected to this tech that is taking over everyone's body. It's literally like a silent invasion from the inside out. So I don't want anything to do with it. I just refuse to put it in my body anymore.
Me too. I have no attraction to it.
Mm-mm.
It kind of grosses me out. So there's poop on it, like when you get it.
Right. It grows
What is
in
that?
poop. It grows in the dark and poop. Like, who wants to eat that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Good. This place. Okay. Next topic. Out of the rubber and
Wait,
into
wait.
the.
Lisa says, Karen, you are such a spiritual warrior. Thank you for sharing your journey. It's really helping me on my path to wilderness as well. That's funny. Wellness, she meant.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that.
Blue Velvet says, my body will not digest mushrooms. 100% just like corn. Well, that's probably a good thing that your body won't digest them. It just comes right out.
Yeah.
I always had an aversion to them like my whole life. And at some point, I started eating them, I think, because they had crab meat in them. That's why I ate them.
Oh, like stuffed mushrooms with
Like
crab.
stuffed. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I could get used to this. So then,
See, that's how they get you. They mix shit.
yeah.
They make like these mixed things. And then you're like, oh, I've got to try that. Takes away
Yeah.
the mushroom taste, the shit taste.
Right. But as a child, see, this is why we should listen more closely to our kids and what they have natural aversions to. As a child, I had an aversion to milk, which we're the only species that eats the milk of another species, by the way. Nobody else does that. After, um, after, sorry, I can't find the word. After, what is it called? After weaning. After weaning, we're the only species that continues to drink milk. So I always had aversion to that. I always had an aversion to a natural aversion to meat and mushrooms. So, and those are the three things that really can, well, for me anyway, my system doesn't do well with them. So yeah, we should listen to our kids more and what they have natural aversions to.
Well, I'm not listening to mine because they don't
Well,
want to
yours
drink
are
celery juice.
they're already programmed. It's too late for them.
My daughter has hope. It's my son I gotta work on. Like, I think we need to work hard with him. Like, we're just gonna have to be creative and I think make it a family affair. We can
Hmm.
cook together.
Yeah, he likes to cook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We pretty much touched up on all the rest of the topics: spiritual warfare, hive-minded interconnectedness, shedding and radiation poisoning as an opening. Unless
Do
you want
you,
to elaborate on more things.
yeah, do you want to talk about the spiritual warfare aspect of it?
You want to
Anything
leave
that
me with a sentence?
anything that comes up for you around it? I know for me, when I'm exposed to shedding, to other people who are either carrying a big load of it or who have been vaxxed themselves, I can feel the transfer. I can feel the tech coming into my body and I can feel it growing. I actually have the sensation of it growing in my body, which freaks me out. It freaks me out.
I don't have it for my whole body. I only have it in my robo hand right now. But I've been able to really understand what you're talking about or have been talking
Mm,
about because of my desensitization, yeah, that word, of like them taking over my nerves and all of that stuff, perhaps. So
mm,
I think because I've always been immersed in, with Vax people and just the slow death of interacting with them. Yeah, this was actually the first line of place that it started, remember?
mhm,
And then it grew, and then I started to develop them elsewhere. So, but now that I'm doing the clearing, I feel this is the first part that is deconstructing. I also wanted to take note for people who are um for the triangle that Tina was talking about in group with Eric from FM8. I started to put the triangle around. Can you explain what the triangle is real quick for people who don't know what it is?
it's an anti-nano device. It's made in the shape of a triangle with magnets and stuff.
I don't know the
It's very it's
science
a
behind it, but
yeah,
I understand that it does electrical pulses, and with the electrical
magnetic
pulses, yeah, it
magnetic
magnetic
pulses.
pulses, yeah, that it just deconstructs the nano or the buildup of the polymers and all of the plastics and all of that shit inside.
And what Eric explained that it really does it knocks the cloaking mechanism off of the nano so that the
Mm,
body can recognize it. The reason why it's assimilating into the body is because the body cannot recognize it that it's not its own
yeah,
and then take it out.
yeah,
I also think there's a component of it that is taking out our own cells so that our cells can't fight back against it. So, what the triangle anti nano device does, in the simplest explanation and what I understand, is that it sends a pulse to knock the cloaking technology off of the um the tech. So then the body can recognize, okay, this isn't mine. I need to get rid of it. And then it'll start to expel it through the
yeah,
bowels, through the skin, however, it's going to get it out through the urine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I started using it like I take baths when it's really bad twice a day, but at least once a day. And I was putting my hand in the triangle itself. So Tina got me the mini triangle. I do want to know if I should even just get a larger one just so that I could break it down because of the amount of time that I've been exposed. So maybe, or we could do the double triangle when I'm
Mhm.
there. So it's just like, kill it, bitch. And so anyway, I put my hand in it, like literally holding the triangle while I was like in it in the bath. And I think I fried my hand, which is a good thing, I guess. Like it's crispy skin. So, but I feel like it broke down a lot of shit, which is great. So I probably have to do it with the rest of my friends here. For people who are skeptical on the Morgellons stuff, I mean, I understand like how I would be diagnosed with probably either some fungal thing or eczema,
Eczema,
or it's definitely has,
psoriasis.
yeah, eczema tendency, like characteristics. And yeah, I was using cortisone in the beginning actually just to suppress it because of how bad the itch was, but my body was trying to get rid of it. So there was like a cycle, like a really toxic cycle going on with me and how I was taking care of like my health issues because I was suppressing it and being like, shh, like it's okay, friends. Like we don't have to deal with you right now. But there would be like, there would be wires coming out. So anyway, better late than never. Um, and the awakening of it was
But
like really shitty, you know, like to get to the point where it's like, okay, your body's like screaming now because the other organs are like, hey, like I'm just stabbing you now with pains and now you have to fucking wake up.
yeah, wake up and listen. I
Which
think,
broke the trance out like immediately.
well, that's what I mean. So you were partially under a trance state in denial. Like I feel like the tech was affecting your consciousness in a way where it's like, don't look at this, don't
No,
address
definitely
this.
not. It gave me that sense of like what I told you. It was like it felt like invincibility. Like I'm not, don't worry, like I haven't felt anything. So nothing's really happening here, nothing to see here. So I think it was just kind of waiting until a point in which I'm like, oh my God, are you like that extreme? It's almost like just everything in general for people. I know I'm not alone in this, where we wait till it gets so bad and then we're like, shit. And it's not enough like to do it in the beginning because you're like, okay, I know I'm doing this like prophylactically. Is that the word?
Mhm.
Thank you. Prophylactically, and then building upon it, and then not really getting to like the results, or like not the results, but like the end where you're like, see, I'm combating it, even though I don't know what I'm combating. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
like I need that extra proof, just like how it was with my mind, like my mental illness or whatever it was, like the buildup of like my subparts that would come out. And then it's just like you'd be like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm great. But then I would look at myself and be like, no, you're not. You're not fine at all. Like all your parts are out and you're in a deep trigger. You know, like it's so extreme because we've so traumatized that we build a muscle along the trauma that we don't deal with it until it's you're there till the trauma erupts,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fucking annoying. I just wanted to express that it's annoying as rubber avocados, like it's
Yeah.
shitty. So yeah, so definitely I was affected by that trance state and that denial of like I'm fine, like I'm fine. I kept telling myself I'm fine, and until you're not. So now I'm just dealing with it, and I feel good about this. I know it doesn't look good. It looks kind of gross, and it is gross, but I'm just happy that it's coming out. So instead of like me going in that toxic cycle of like suppressing it with cortisone and saying like shh,
Shh.
shh, we're not doing this right now, okay? Um
You're
then
paying
yeah,
attention.
yeah, I'm paying attention to all of them, and I am significantly noticing that they are getting smaller, which is great. Um we had a session this week about vitamin E oil that came up in the thing, and I was like, oh, maybe that's what I need to do later, like just to heal the scars, and but not. I don't know if I should incorporate it now or I don't know. I'm not feeling called to it right this minute because I don't feel that they're healed yet, but they're definitely expelling, and they look like volcano, like they're erupting like volcano.
No, it's actually a really good thing that your body is recognizing it and expelling it.
Yeah,
Most people are just assimilating it. right? So it's actually
Yeah.
really good that your body is expelling it as this is not mine.
Yeah. And I think the little work that I did in between the denial was helping to expel it. Like it led to where they just started to come out through all the other things that I did before. But now it's like hardcore and consciously doing it, like understanding on all levels of things, like what is happening and not denying what's happening.
How would you explain what's happening?
Uh, I just see webs, a lot of like non inorganic like wiring webs that are coming into the body and they're hijacking things. Like when I see it energetically, it's like they come in and they grow like roots and that this is the network that's growing, and then they'll go around your organs and just squeeze the shit out of it, like squeeze the life out of it. And our bodies are so resilient, which is why it's like a blessing in a way. Like we need to start to create like really strengthen the connection with your body and in order to understand the language of the body. And there's multiple languages of the body because I hadn't learned this language yet. So learning that language through the process of really saying like, okay, tell me everything, like tell me, and I'm listening now, I'm listening to you. So it's able like to sit down and like to make better choices. It's more conscious choices than like running a program. And I've talked about my food addiction in the past, like many times. I talk about it all the time. I have to say though, in sessions, side note, I would always think about like things that I want to eat and like what I want to order. um but I don't have that anymore. Like I think about the food that I do have, like, oh, I want to eat the chickpea tacos that I made. Like that's exciting. So it's like my mind is going into a direction of like what is feeding me instead of what is killing me, or what's adding to the network with the processed sugars. And I haven't had any of that stuff um in over a week now. So I don't have like the parasitic thoughts coming in about like what how to poison myself or whatever. um but that doesn't mean I don't fight certain things. Like certain things do come up, like you can have a little chicken. I'm like, no, I'm like, I've been trying to stay away, like really trying to be vegetarian, at least while I'm recovering. And then I'll see how I deal or how I go, or limiting it instead of being unconsciously eating it just to feed my gluttony demon. Like,
We got to get rid of the gluttony demons.
yeah. Like it's multi-layered about the things that we are able to clear and then the things that aren't. And I always ask, like, get rid of the things that do not serve me. But I had to specify that do not serve. Like, you have to get really down to it, because I was not getting rid of my gluttony demon because it was serving me on some level, like an unconscious level. Ta-da. So
Secondary gain.
yeah, yeah, running away, just feeding the void, like going into it, like getting excited about like the chemicals that I was going to eat. Like, that's not what I was thinking. Like, oh, I can't wait to eat that chemical, but that's what it is. Like you're feeding that hungry inner child that's starved when they're kids. Like, and you don't care what it is because you just want to satisfy. Um, so anyway, I am very conscious of what is going on, and I'm doing the supplements, and it's hard. The supplements are really hard. So I do more of a little bit like the sweeter supplements, like the B12 are sweeter. So I put that more instead of like trying to make friends now with what's the sour one?
Golden seal?
Oh, golden seal. Ooh, golden seal's hard.
That's hard.
It's hard. But
That's
I
the hardest one you'll ever have to do.
well, that's reassuring.
Hmm.
But you were saying earlier in the video today about like how you don't realize things until like with the entities or the earthbounds attaching to you, like you don't know it until you know it or until you catch it earlier. Yeah, I feel like it's multi-layered for certain things. Like you really have to dig into how you are in your everyday and being able to ask those questions, like you said, catching them so that you're not suffering until you catch it. And I feel it's like the same thing for me. Like the body was really the last part where it was like catching it till it was really at the last and being like, okay, I do know on some level, I knew on some level, but until you get to that level where you're like, wake the fuck up level, then you're like, okay, fine, I surrender. You got me. But yeah, it's been challenging and hard. Um, Especially to know the ramifications. Like you said, like when you are with somebody who is teched up and you feeling it like being transferred over. And that's a responsibility that I need to take upon myself and the kids too, because if Tina's like in our life, then of course I have to take responsibility for that. Like that's not a thing that you purposely want to be like, well, fuck this, like especially with the awareness that you have now, you can't go back and be like, I'm not going to take accountability for that. I mean, like when you get the full understanding, like really and the full accountability of it.
Yeah.
So just breaking it down and, doing the necessary things that you have to do. If that means that I have to not be in contact with my family for now while I'm rebuilding myself, then that's what it has to be. I thought it was a blessing. I was supposed to go to my sister's on the weekend, but they lost power. So we didn't end up going. So I was like, okay, great. I'll just stay home. I was like just gonna stay. So um my son is actually having like some symptoms of like the tech. So that was alarming to me because we always say like, how does Buggy go out? And then he's like perfectly fine. Like, but there are things that are happening very slowly. Again, a slow growth and but
It's slow, but
symptoms
it's actually really
really
fast.
right. Right. In the grander scheme of things, like I mean, if we like were to just see how it is, yeah, it's pretty quick. And this is what I mean by really understanding that, like the way my mind was like, well, like I'm not I'm not surrounded by the Vax people all the time, even though yes, I am, like more so than Tina is, for example, but I'm like, but I don't have it. Like there was a justification, like I don't have it. Tina doesn't have it. Like my kids don't have it. Like so there was just always that thing like, okay, my close network, we don't have it, so we're okay, like it's fine. Like there's a denial and a justification going on. But I think people need to understand that you need to know where your energy goes. Our energy goes through everything. So everything that we consume, that we talked about earlier, consume, whether that be what we're eating, what we're watching, because I think it could be transferred through just tech alone too. There is on some level an
Yeah.
intelligence because it's going through the frequencies. What's falling from the sky, how our whole environments are, like what the clothes that we're wearing, the
The clothes,
detergent
yeah.
that we're using, everything that we're putting on ourselves or that we're surrounded by, even your spouse that that might have the shot or whatever. It's whether it's there, you have to take care of yourself because it's growing rapidly and quickly. And you might not have these to be proof of it, but to know that it's everybody has it. And you got to take the proper precautions and detoxing and spiritual, like the spiritual stuff is a component of it, but there's the physical thing too that really needs to back it. And the full, trying to get the full understanding of what's happening. Like I think I can't stress that enough because like I got it, I understood it, but the denial that runs through is so deep. So you have to question that. You have to really question it and say, like, I'm immune to it. You're not. Everybody has it. If you have human cells, you have it. And even our
Well,
fruit has it, like all it,
our fruit has it.
our fruit has it, our vegetables, our pets, our plants are being evaded by it. Everything. You see it, like
Everything.
everything. That's probably why there's a ramp up in like ants or predator things, like things that are just coming to consume or whatever. Like I don't feel that they're at all natural. They don't feel natural.
No, the ecosystem is completely out of balance. It's completely out of balance because of the heavy metal poisoning and the fungus, right? Because where do ants
Yeah.
are attracted to things that are dying.
Mm.
And if fungus and nanotech is raining from the sky into the soil, that's where they're going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack in that. And not to get to the point where
Mm.
you have to be slap silly to be like, wake up like me, but um
Even my
let's
sunflowers are
start.
zombies.
Oh yeah, one that has no head.
Oh my God, it's the weirdest thing. I have to show you this picture. Well, yeah, one of my I have two mammoth sunflowers in the garden. One has no head at all, and the other one
So weird.
is super distorted. Then completely separate from that, I have a couple growing in my front yard, and those are weird too. There's actually one perfect sunflower, perfect, head's perfect, leaves are
It only has
perfect.
one head.
No,
Is
that
that the
it
one,
has different,
the
it
10?
has like 10 heads on it. Um, then there's two more that are growing next to it. The one next to it has the funky leaves, like crispy
Mm.
leaves, move going to the around the top of the head. The head, the head wasn't right. There was something off about it, and it's not growing seeds, so it's sterile.
Oh my God. Well, there you go.
Hmm.
There
There
you
you
have
go.
it. Right.
Then the one next to that is even worse. So yeah,
It looks like Sloth from Goonies.
and I think it's just like a representation of what's happening, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it does. Wait,
I bet.
I gotta find this picture. I took it the other. Oh, here it is.
Oh,
Okay.
Sloth from the Goonies. What the heck?
Yeah, this one has no head at all.
Yeah, it just looks like a plant.
Yeah, it's 12 feet high and it has no head and holes all over it. And the leaves are like crinkly and weird. And this is the head of the other one, which is also
Oh,
deformed.
yeah. That looks fucking weird, man.
It is weird.
That doesn't even look like a sunflower. It looks like a morphed, hijacked version, like
Right.
upside down sunflower.
I think they're all hijacked with this tech. I
Yeah.
think they're all hijacked.
Yeah, you guys really need to take it seriously. I mean, again, like at least do the, I don't know. You could email Tina for the document, like the nanotech document that she's been making through like the last couple of years, but
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, zombie. And there's another weird thing going on with the strawberries too. They're not looking right either. They're like
and they
growing
don't
like
taste good either.
there's no taste to them whatsoever. And they're growing like in doubles. Like,
Oh yeah, we've been eating all the twins.
yeah, I don't think we should eat them.
I don't think we should eat them either. I'm like, oh, some people could be like, oh, look, twin flames.
No, there's something, yeah. Everything's just like a little bit off. I mean, even a lot off when you have the
The eyes
sunflower
to
with no
see.
head. Yeah, when you have the eyes to see, and I think it's just yeah, nature's always reflecting back to us what's happening with ourselves, right? Because we are a part of nature.
Yeah.
So really paying attention to what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And really question the lens that you're looking through.
Well, a
I
lot of
felt
people like that are that don't have the jabs, they have this false sense of security. And I think that was part of
that
it.
was me.
That was part of the program to give everyone a false sense of security. When
Yeah,
really
I
they knew it was going to shed, they knew they were going to drop it from the sky, they knew that everybody was going to have it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, you just got to be able to combat it before it gets really bad, like, or till you're hijacked from the inside out, or your organs
Yeah.
are completely like squished.
Squished. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
overtaken. So,
Okay. Well, let's look at the comments. Superpower wants to know, what clearing techniques do you find the most effective for spiritual warfare? Or what are your favorites?
clearing techniques.
Hmm.
Physically, I think the bath is really good. So in the bath, I like to do the 25 drops of MMS to clear the water. And then I put the as much salt as I can afford to do. And with I don't have baking soda right now, but there's baking soda and the borax. I like to make a pile in the bath so that when I sit in it, then I'll just grab the piles and start scrubbing my skin everywhere, which is really stingy. But I'm like, oh, feel the burn. Like I feel good that I'm just cleansing myself and taking, like entities and whatnot don't like the salt and all those cleaning products, borax and all that stuff that you're putting in.
Hmm.
So I'm just like scrubbing it in with intention of clearing what's on the surface, ready to go, opening up the pores with the hot water so that the whatever is in there and at the surface that's getting hit by the salt is ready to leave. That's one physical way to do it. I like the idea of, like drinking the, lemon water in the morning just to flush the body out. So that's another way to like flush the system out right away in the morning. And in terms of energetics, it's just my intention to clear. I like to just scan my body from top to bottom. And I always say, like, whatever this, my awareness is coming in contact with will destroy whatever, like a foreign invader that's in there. I also like to burn contracts regularly, cut cords to everybody, um, everything and everybody. And I don't know. I just do like the basic entity check,
What do
ET,
you
negative ET check.
what do you do if you come across an entity, say you have an entity here that's trying to hook into your field? How do you clear that?
I chop it. I just get rid of it. I don't even question it. I don't talk to it. I just get it out. And then once it's out of
How
my
do you get
field,
it out? With your sword, you mean?
yeah, or I explode it or it, whatever my imagination feels like doing. So I'll just either explode it or chop it, or usually those are my go-to. And then I'll remote view later, like how it affected me, like kind of like just tap into the energy and what it did or how it affected me, just to get an understanding, a reflection. I just continue the protection, like state my protection around my field, around my home. I blast my home from the inside out and the outside in. Like I do that several times so that the land is clear too.
Like
Um,
imagining like you're detonating a bomb
yeah,
of
like
light.
a yeah, or whatever, like nuclear bomb, but like a good one, outside in, inside out. And I ground myself. I can make sure I'm grounded. I make sure that my divine spark light is full and bright. Mm. I don't know. I just have my regular checks that I do for myself, like for my field. I do protection also, like for my kids if they're not. I always just tell them like briefly, like, protect yourself. But I do the like extra stuff, and I help with Tina's field too and Bubba's, like their house. So it's just like just checking for things. Um, Earthbounds, that's become a newcomer. I wonder if the uptick in
There-
Earthbounds are because, the people that are getting ejected, right? So
yeah.
there's a lot of extra open bodies there, like open vessels for people. So be hyper aware of like sudden symptoms or doubled symptoms or whatever it is.
Right. And so then if it is an earthbound, what do you do? First of all, if you get a yes for it's an earthbound, then you ask, is it male or female? How old are they? How did they die? You don't even necessarily need to visualize or see them, but you can talk to them because they're obviously in your field. So you're just speaking to them telepathically to find out a little bit about them, why they're in your field, what happened to them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just so you have a little bit of an idea. Then the process is really simple. You just tell them to find the spark within their heart because they've obviously forgotten about their spark. They don't even know they have one. And that's why they're lost and wandering around the earth. Usually, earthbounds don't have malicious intentions unless they've been hijacked by other entities. So usually
We've
they're
rarely seen
lost,
that. We've seen
rarely.
it, but we've seen it. It's rare.
Yeah. They can be though. They can be malicious and they can be hard to get rid of sometimes, but generally they're not. When they're harder to get rid of, you just have to keep having that conversation with them that, they're not supposed to be here. They're doing harm to themselves. They're doing harm to you. It's not good for anyone that they're hanging around here. Sometimes they're afraid to cross over. It's interesting. We actually, this story is really interesting. So I had a dream one night that was talking to Iris, who we've done videos for, our colleague Iris, older woman. She's in our community too. And in the dream, she was watching this video of a man who was talking about the Matrix and the afterlife and the traps. And she was watching this video over and over and over again. And it was making her physically sick and neurotic. That was what I was seeing and hearing in the dream. It's making you physically sick and neurotic. So I was trying to suggest to her, you know, don't watch this video anymore. Stop watching the video. And she wouldn't listen to me. And then I woke up. So then we're doing a clearing the next day for a client. And we get to the part about earthbounds. And Karen's picking up on this earthbound. And she's afraid to cross over because she doesn't want to lose her mind. And I said, what do you mean by that? And you said she's afraid of the mind wipe. And I was like, that's a first. So we've never had an earthbound that's afraid of the mind wipe. So obviously she's being influenced by the human she's attached to, who's consuming this information and watching the videos and learning about the matrix and the afterlife and the traps and all this stuff. So now the earthbound is herself physically sick and neurotic because she's scared to cross over. So she's physically sick and neurotic, and she's influencing our client to also be physically sick and neurotic. So they're feeding off
Yeah.
of each other back
Just a
and
side
forth.
note, you did mention that you had contacted Iris before that to say like, hey, like I had a dream about you and blah blah blah, and see if she resonated with it. And she was like, no. So
Right. Iris is like, no. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's weird because when we were talking to this woman, this earthbound, you said she was older, maybe about 60 or 70. I can't remember exactly, but she was wearing lavender clothes and she had her hair up in a bun and it was like a salt and pepper gray. Her name was Anita, but the name Iris was also coming through. There were two names coming through. And I knew then that there was another connection here
You asked me
that,
if there was a cluster of like another Earthbound, but that was a no.
right.
Yeah. So that was
Yes.
weird. I was like, I don't know. And it's like the inner child was like, oh, it's like she made up the name. I don't know how that came about.
The inner child, you said it had something to do with this is what you said. It had something to do with the inner child. So, okay, we convince her that it's safe to cross over. She crosses over. Then later, I'm talking to Iris because she's saying it didn't resonate. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, the name Iris came up tonight in our session. So the only thing that makes sense to me is it was relating back to my dream of the woman watching the video over and over and over again. And
That looked
because
like Iris.
that looked like Iris, that she was afraid of the mind wipe and it was making her physically sick and neurotic. So she, the Earthbound, was the one watching the video through the eyes of our client, which was wild. I don't even know. That probably makes no sense to anyone watching this right now. What's also interesting about that connection is our client the night I had the dream that morning, I received an email from her and she's like, I just got back into drawing again. So I just drew this picture without thinking at all. I was just drawing without thinking. And it's a picture of a being who looks feminine in nature, but it's just a simple, plain drawing of her body and like a long dress. And she's wearing like some kind of like hat where it comes down, it looks like over her eyes. And when I went back and looked at that picture, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, this is the Earthbound. She drew the Earthbound without realizing it. She drew the bun as a hat. So it's like a high.
Yeah, that's how I envisioned her. She had that high bun, like the lady that what the Tweety Bird's mama, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She had the high bun and her dress. I saw it as lavender. And I
Mhm.
actually wore lavender that day too, which I rarely wear. I wore lavender that day. So what was the other thing too? Oh yeah. So yes, she was interpreting. So the client's inner child is who drew that picture of the Earthbound. That's why
Iris.
Iris. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wild.
crazy. Wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that made sense. It probably really didn't because it was wild to
Lana
me.
got it. Like, yeah, even he got it, Lana.
Lana got it.
Yeah.
Yay.
At least it made sense to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy. So both the client and the Earthbound that was attached to her were consuming this content and then she was afraid to cross over because of, you know, she didn't want to be mind wiped and get trapped. Yeah.
Valid reason.
Hmm.
Yep.
But yes, so we were talking about Earthbounds. Yeah, so sometimes they can be a little bit resistant to leaving for whatever reason. They might be afraid of the mind wipe. They might be just afraid of punishment because of the religious programming. So sometimes they can take a little bit more convincing. And it's not just like, hey, you move on. Like sometimes you have to talk to them a little bit. And it just takes a little bit longer of a conversation, but eventually they will go.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do sneak in and come back. So you have to be
That's
aware.
happened too.
That's happened. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
That's funny. It's
but
like hiding
yeah.
behind like the bush.
Yeah, they'll go and then they'll sneak back in. We've also had situations where the Earthbound will it was like a digital copy of an Earthbound. Remember that? It was with a little boy.
Oh my God, yeah. I forgot about that. That was a while ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, see, so now we're having digital Earthbounds people.
Yeah. But I think you're right about the just people being ejected from their bodies. And that's why there's so many. Because not only did I have that reptilian attack and the insertion of all those earthbound children, but I also picked up another day, I picked up like a bunch of earthbounds too. So there seems to be a lot more uptick in earthbounds, and it could be because they're being ejected from the bodies and then some other entities taking over.
Yeah,
So yeah, anytime you're feeling like panic and anxiety, you should question if there's something energetic coming into your field or spiritual coming into your field for sure. Because
okay.
it could be an attack, or it could just be that your body is sensing this other being entering, you know.
Yeah, true. Nice Sylvia.
Hi, Sylvia. Anyone have any questions? Any final thoughts?
No, I think I said what I had to say, but I can't stress enough. Like, get out of your denial. Like, if you need a sign, this is it. Get out of your denial.
Hmm. Sylvia says, my mom and I have both gotten anxiety each time we go to the movies. Hmm.
Hmm. Something to reflect on. I know you said I don't know why. Reflect harder, Sylvia. Hmm. Guts be attacked by spiders. Yeah. Spiders like to come in. Usually the signs of the spiders for us are like the toxic feminine energies.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Um
or AI
and or AI
Spider
spider.
Queen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she likes to lay eggs.
Period.
Yeah. That. Good luck. I was thinking it was because of my life review. Similar.
Mm.
Yeah. Or you're picking up on the people that are there in the webbing.
Mm. Yeah, because you're in really close contact with people who have the shots, and they're giving off major energy. I think it's actually building the radiation that is being given off by because the tech is building in the body, right? It's self-replicating, it's growing inside the body, so it's giving off more and more and more radiation. So it could be that you're sensing in close quarters with, how many people in this little space. Could be that, and plus whatever entities or energies they're carrying around too, because the tech acts as an open portal for these entities to come in. So the energy is so messy right now. Like it's just so messy. It's
Yeah.
really, really bad, especially for sensitive people. We're just like being bombarded.
Stay
Just
home.
stay home. Like stream a movie at home or something. It's not worth it
Yeah.
anymore. It's
I
not for
don't find
me.
it that fun anymore to go to the movies. Like I don't like that, like when I go to the grocery store, I like literally run in and I run out because I can't even enjoy like going on aisles and looking for things and you know, you just run in and run out, get the hell out of there, throw the money and keep the change. Like, go.
Yeah, it's true. All right, guys. Well, this was a fun live.
Yeah, it's been a while. Glad that we did it. And thank you for those that participated and shared. Sorry if we missed anything. We'll probably look back at the chat. And if there are any questions that we didn't answer, do the comments, or you could email us at quantumhealingwithtina, TENA at gmail.com. And if you're interested to work with us, you could look at our website on the same name, quantumhealingwithtina.com. So yes, we appreciate you coming. Thanks for talking about or listening to us talk about rubber avocados and the nasty sores that are coming out of my skin. But I hope this is like kind of like a warning sign for people that even if you aren't or you don't have it, the shot, and don't mean that you don't have anything going on the inside. So detox, detox, detox,
Yeah.
and take it seriously
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
they'll literally hijack you from the inside out. So,
Yeah. All right.
all right. Peace out, everybody. It's nice to see you. See you again.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Wait, hold on.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Go.
Okay.